So hi, welcome to Anchor Reviews. It's just me this time, Tyler from Anchor Reviews, and this is my review on Jurassic World Rebirth. So before we begin, I just want to do a quick recap of my basic thoughts on the previous Jurassic movies. The first Jurassic Park, most would agree, is the best one. It's pretty solid. I've always liked the movie. I never really loved it. The Lost World Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3 are both okay movies. I personally think in retrospect that Jurassic Park 3 is a very pointless movie. Jurassic World, I do enjoy that one despite it being all about that phase in the 2010s about nostalgia milking. And then we get to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I think is incredibly dumb. It's one of the most idiotic movies, at least mainstream Hollywood movies, I've seen in the past 10 years or so. And then we get to Dominion, which was just kind of fine-ish, I guess. It has its moments. I mean, it succeeded compared to the Star Wars sequel trilogy, where it reunited characters from the old movies into this one. They do share screen time, but at the same time, it's just kind of forgettable. I mean, not as forgettable as Jurassic Park 3, because there's a point to that movie, but overall, it's okay. So now that leads us to Jurassic World Rebirth. So this one was interesting because it is directed by Gareth Edwards, who directed movies such as the 2014 remake of Godzilla, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, and also The Creator. And it's also written by David Koepp, who was a writer on the first Jurassic Park movie. So in this movie, we have a group of mercenaries who are hired by this pharmaceutical corporation to go to this island to try to find the blood samples of these dinosaurs, but then there's this whole family that gets mixed up in it. So I thought this movie was enjoyable. I did like some of the scenes involving them trying to get blood from the dinosaurs, whether that be the Mosasaurus or the Pterodactyl or even just the Brontosaurus. It was nice seeing that. In addition to that, I think the effects work for the most part is really good, except for maybe a few shots here and there involving maybe the Brontosauruses, the way their tail moved was okay, and then there's also this baby dinosaur that didn't look the best in terms of its frame rate, but overall Edwards really does know how to do visual effects in size and scale, and also he knows how to budget things. Like you look at The Creator, that movie looks great for a movie that only cost about roughly 80 something million dollars to make. I mean, if you look at a movie like Jurassic World Dominion, and I know that movie was made during the pandemic, that was an unenviable task for anyone to make that movie during those circumstances, but that movie, at least according to World of Real, cost over $400 million to make. But with this one, however, with Jurassic World Rebirth, the movie's reported budget right now is $180 million, so it definitely had that advantage of not being made during the pandemic, but also it's made by someone like Gareth Edwards, who really knows how to economically make a movie the smart way. I will say with the cast, they were fine. I didn't really care for that whole B-plot with the family being lost on this island, being separated. I did like that scene with the T-Rex though, that was pretty good, but I was just thinking about it after the fact how this movie could have been better if either A, they just would have dropped that family completely and then just focused on these mercenary characters, or option B, they should have introduced this family first and then they get rescued by this group of mercenaries and then they're in the dark about what's happening until they get to the island, and then it's gradually revealed to them as sort of they're kind of a surrogate for the audience about what's really going on. Then I think that probably could have worked. At least it would have been better, or at least would have been better to justify the family being there. And I felt like the family being there was just a note from the studios like, well, we gotta get the families and the kids to go see this, but it's the Jurassic franchise. They're already gonna go see it with dinosaurs involved, so I don't think you really needed that family to be in that movie. At least in my opinion, they were a bit expendable. With Scarlett Johansson's character, they do show that she was someone who missed her mother's funeral and she also feels guilty about losing someone close to her. But I felt like there was something there before they went to the island, but after that just kind of becomes a little bit of a kind of semi-generic adventure movie, or at least in terms of character stuff. It's like they had some character stuff building up in the beginning, but then by the time they get to the island, it kind of does push the brakes a bit on that and more about the dinosaurs. And I know people will go see this movie just for the dinosaurs, and that's fine. I just felt like with the characters, in a way, they could have made that a little bit better, or at least more of a through line with that. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's something that happens much later in the story involving the D-Rex, and I know it's not really a spoiler because it's in the marketing. Something happens with that creature towards the end of the movie, and also a helicopter. I'm not going to really go into details what happens, but I thought that was a pretty good and effective scene right there in terms of horror and suspense. So overall, I think Jurassic World Rebirth is a very entertaining movie. I did find myself enjoying it a little bit more than Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. However, I also do think that the movie does have its problems here and there that I already mentioned. However, leading up to this movie, I did see some thumbnails on YouTube. I didn't click on any of them, but a lot of them were basically saying, oh, the movie's bad, or it's stupid, or it's like the worst in the series. And honestly, I think that's an over exaggeration, and I would put this probably better than the majority of the Jurassic movies. I would say it's probably on the same level as the first Jurassic World movie, but that's definitely an upgrade compared to the likes of Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. So, as for Jurassic World Rebirth, I would give it about 3 stars out of 4. So, anyway, this is Tyler from End Credit Reviews, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of After the Credits on End Credit Reviews, and I hope to make a lot more in the future. Please like and subscribe.